Hey there, I'm Nika.
And I'm Flo.
And today we're going to give you a tour of this beautiful Hallberg Rassy. If you have been following my journey for a while, then you probably know that I usually sail on a Reinke Super 10 that is called Carl. But currently I'm sailing on Flo's boat Santana, and quite a lot of people have already asked if we can give you a little boat tour. So today we're gonna make it happen. To give you a little idea of what to expect from this video, we're gonna first take you through the fast facts of the boat, then Flo's gonna give you a little tour of the deck talking about sails and rigging, then I'm gonna take you down below into the living quarters. Flo's gonna talk a little bit about the engine, and then we're gonna talk about the navigation setup, and closing off with a little bit of safety equipment. After that, we've got something fun planned for you. We're gonna both write down the 5 things that we both love about the boat and we don't like so much about the boat, but separate from each other, and we're going to present those to you. There might be some surprises. Make sure you stay tuned for that. At the very end of the video, Flo's going to take you into his little nerd corner and he's going to share all about the history of the boat and some interesting numbers like the comfort ratio and the capsizing screaming formula. I hope there's something for everybody in this video, and if you happen to like it, then please give us a little thumbs up, leave us a comment, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any further updates. All right, let's take you on the tour. Santana is a Hallberg Rassy Rasmus 35 built in 1978 in Älvs, Sweden. She measures 10.5 meters overall with a waterline length of 8.4 meters, giving her a hull speed of just over 7 knots. Her beam is 3.05 meters wide and she features a long keel with a draft of 1.3 meters. She displaces around 5.5 tons, carrying 2.5 tons of ballast in the keel, and the mast stands 13.5 meters above the waterline. Alright, enough with the numbers, let's take a look around.
So let's start with the deck tour. Well, all the way at the front we start with the anchor. I have a standard Delta anchor and it's 25 kilogram, which is a bit oversized but lets me sleep very well. And I'm using almost 100 meter of a 8mm chain. I do have a second anchor, which was the one the boat came with. It's a 17 kilo spade anchor, which I currently keep at the back. I had some bad experience with the waves coming from the side and the boat is very tipsy, so I'm using that as a spare anchor or a second anchor to point the boat into the wind. Which brings us to the rigging. It is a standard Bermuda sloop rigging with a furling Genoa of 23 square meters, an aluminum mast with a 22 square meter furling main, and it's furling down in the boom. It has horizontal buttons, so it does sail quite well if you don't have to take it down in heavy winds. One thing about this furling boom is that it needs to be rectangular to be able to furl it in. That's why it does have a rod kicker, so it keeps it up at a certain angle, and I do not need any lines to pull up the boom. Gives a very clean look, but something else that can break. The boat comes originally in different configurations with the mast. This one has the the slow but safe version. It has only one spreader, and the entire standing rigging has been renewed, I think, in 2019, so it's in quite good shape.
This feels like the perfect moment to take a little break from the tour, so sit back, soak up some vitamin C, and enjoy Santana under full sail gliding through the water.
I do have 3 other foresails, so a standard fock that can jib.
This is kind of funny because when I did the first boat tour of my boat Carl, I was saying that the boat had a fock.
So there's a Genoa, big one in the front, and boom sail. The boom says the fock. The boom fock.
I didn't know the word jib, and it's kind of funny that Flo was just using the same term, because in German, the jib is Fock.
So I do have 3 other foresails, 2 smaller ones, one standard jib that fits into the furler as well. So you could use it for a wing-on-wing foresail or replace the Genoa. And I have a storm jib which has a Hank-on connections and one bigger one. I do have a light weather sail, and it's called a blister. It works like
a circus tent.
Yeah, it is a circus tent. It works like a spinnaker, but it is asymmetrical, and it does have a small forestay included, so you can sail up to the wind with that sail. So it technically behaves more like Code Zero. There are 2 different kinds of running rigging. One is steel ropes that are connected to the mast, and they are mainly for hoisting the foresails. And you have to crank them up at the mast. Then there is the 2 lines for the spinnaker and the spinnaker pole, and both of them have to be hoisted at the mast. But if you have to put out the pole, you have to be on the foredeck anyway. Everything else for the standard sailing is running back into the cockpit, so you can manage all the standard sails from the cockpit. And since we are still standing on the deck, I do have an original 1978 Teak deck. It's very thick, so I think I still have more wood on the boat than you would lay on a boat today, but it is screwed down. So I think I have about 3,000 to 5,000 holes in my deck. The good thing is that they use a closed cell foam in the deck, so even if it's wet, it should not rot. But it is something that I really like to see and to walk on, but it is a potential water ingress.
This to me is part of the nerd corner, but he's got a Teak deck.
That was the short version.
Yeah, I fear.
What I do like about the design from Ole Enderlein for the Nerd Corner, the guy who draw this boat and a lot of other Scandinavian boats, are these solid windows. There's an option with a hard top. This one comes with the soft top, which gives you a bit more headspace, and you can take it off and then sail cabriolet. And you have in German we call that Kuchenbude. I'm not so sure how you call it, a full enclosure, and it gives you more or less an extra room when it is raining, and especially in the winter, so you can completely close that. We used that even on a crossing when it was raining in the night and was super cold, that we left the top closed, which leaves us at the end of the boat. Here I have this little arch for the solar panels. Basically my car. It's a used Suzuki Zuzumar inflatable dinghy, so it does have an inflatable floor, and I think that's quite important on this small boat. If we go on a crossing, that I can completely deflate it and store it somewhere on deck. And it comes with a 8 horsepower Johnson outboard 2-stroke.
Alrighty, let's dive into the living quarters. There's 2 main cabins on Santana. One is in the bow and one is back aft, and both of them sleep 2. And then there's one of my favorite features. Behind this door, there is a full bathroom with a shower with hot water and a toilet, pumping toilet. And another little gem about this head, there is a 60-liter black water holding tank. There's 2 water tanks on the boat. One is up here in the front below the bed. It's 165 liters, and the other one is below the bilge in the keel, another 265 liters of water tank. That brings us to another water place. Here is the galley. We have a sink here which has fresh water, and this is an extra pump that pumps salt water, which is really great because when you're doing the dishes and you don't want to waste your precious fresh water, you can just rinse everything with the salt water and then just use the fresh water to rinse everything off. The way that we fill our tanks is, if you've seen some of our previous episodes, we have an octopus water maker that makes like 60 liters of water an hour. That is back in one of the cockpit lockers. Here in the galley we also have this wonderful top loader fridge, which is one of my absolute favorites. 35 liters maybe. And we have a stove that works with propane with 2 burners and a non-working oven. And we also have an induction cooking place. So when we're in the marina and we have shore power, then we use the induction cooking plate instead of the propane. Opposite of the galley, we have the big settee sitting living area with a big table that can lower down so you can have a big lounging area or an extra bed where 2 people could sleep. This is also my office, and then there is another little corner where Flo has his office. Sometimes he also uses this table, so you can swap between the 2. And talking about office, so how does electricity work on Santana? We've got 300 amp hours AGM batteries, and those are being filled by various sources, which is either shore power, the alternator from the engine, the sun, or another little generator. There's 3 different chargers on the boat. One is the charger from the alternator, one is the charger, the MPPT charger from the solar, and one is the charger for the shore power. There's 400 watts of solar up on the arch back aft, and then there is 800 watts from the little generator. So we can be pretty self-sustainable with that. There's a 2 kilowatt inverter that converts the 12 volt board system into 220 volts for the induction plate or for charging computers or whatever you want to use with the 220 volts. There is a bunch of storage up in the front, and then here is an entire little cupboard. There's storage behind here and below all the sitting areas, so there is quite a lot of room to store things. Not as much room as on Carl, but still pretty decent, I'd say. And another important living space actually is the cockpit, because that's where we spend a lot of time, and that's when the weather is nice, where we probably hang out most. And up next, engine compartment.
I think this boat comes originally with the Yanmar engine. This one was installed in 2012, and it is a 39 horsepower Volvo Penta D240. This one sits right on the diesel tank. The diesel tanks are here, and so all the diesel outtakes are installed right under the engine. It does have 2 diesel 4 filters, and it uses around 2 liters an hour, and I think it maxes out at around 10 liters if you run it with 100% full speed. We are running it with 2 liters or below at normally 1,800 to 2,000 RPM. It has a maximum of 2,900, which is tested by Volvo, and they recommend between 1,900 and 2,400 for the normal speed. There is a special add-on with this, which are these pipes that you can see over there. They are connected to the, I think, to the heat exchange. So the coolant system of the engine runs through there, and in this box there is a heat exchanger for the hot water. So as soon as the engine is running, this is something between 30 and 50 liters of hot water, and this is warmed to 90 degrees. So if you run the engine, you have probably for a day or 2 days hot water, even warm water on the 3rd day. Something special as well is this Airtronic on the left side. This is a 2.5 kilowatt heater, and it is a diesel heater, so it is taking the diesel from the diesel supply over here. It does stop, I think, when there are 60 liters of diesel left in the engine, so you don't run the entire diesel and can't start the engine afterwards. And it is heating hot air, which can be distributed all over the boat, and you can shut off the aft cabin, you can shut off the front cabin, you can shut off the head if you want. If it's running with full speed, so the 2 kilowatts, it is also using almost 2 liters an hour, but normally it does shut off once the temperature is reached. You can survive minus temperatures in the freezing cold, as the boat is insulated as well. The description of the boat tells me that the diesel tank is 238 liters, and I had no idea if this is true or not. And just about a month or two, it was the first time that I completely filled an empty tank, and now I know it's 270 liters of diesel that we can take in the tank.
And last chapter, navigation and safety equipment. So there is 2 areas for navigational instrument. One is out here and the other one is below deck. Out here we have the depth sounder, and we have the wind instrument, and we have a GPS unit. And then down below we have the chart plotter, aka iPad. And I already talked about the GPS that is mounted outside that works with an external GPS antenna. Actually, we have, I think, 7 ways of receiving our position on this boat. One is through that external GPS antenna. Then 2 iPhones that can get our location. Then we have this InReach Mini from Garmin. We have this little tri-receiver gem that can receive GPS, Galilea and GLONASS. So in case one of the system fails, we still have 2 left. Then we have the Iridium phone where we can get our position from. And there's another GPS that is internal on the VHF. And for communication, we have the VHF radio that has an integrated AIS that can receive AIS. It's not transmitting though. We also have this little handheld VHF, the Iridium phone. This is really great because you can take it with you in the life raft that is up on deck. So that is why my dad is always insisting on having this as an extra safety device, because you can make a phone call still whilst you're floating around somewhere. Then we also have the satellite internet that we can use our devices with for communication. And we have the little InReach Mini that I already mentioned as well. You can send like little text messages, which is another great way of communicating. You can also take this into the life raft and still stay in contact with people. And last but not least, for navigation, there's a compass. The good old compass. We have 2 different ways of auto steering on this boat, and Flo's gonna take over for that last little part. So Captain, tell us about this steering and self-steering on this boat.
Well, this boat is usually steered by the wheel. It is connected through some cables through the quadrant, which is in the aft cabin, and through the aft cabin is also the rudder post. And you can attach an emergency tiller to that. There's a large version that you can steer from the cockpit, and a smaller one that you can't reach, but you can attach the good old Autohelm 2000. I think this is the old Ray Marine. I don't know how old this is. It's probably the original one. It does have the magnetic compass here, and you change the position by reaching into the aft cabin. There is the wind pilot at the very back of the boat. It is a wind vane. It steers by the wind. It connects the movement from the wind to the water through some lines, and it is the same short tiller where you can attach either the Autopilot or the wind steering.
Alrighty, and I think we're done with the tour, and we're gonna move to the 5 things that we love and don't like so much on Santana. Whoa. Time out. I know I said I was gonna put all of that into one episode, but I'm editing this right now and we're already at roughly 19 minutes, and I think it's just gonna be a little bit too much. So I'm just gonna put all the other stuff into a second part of the walkthrough. You're still gonna get the 5 things that we love and don't like so much about the boat. Of course, you're also gonna get the nerd corner, because I know you've been secretly waiting for that, but more about that next time.